Hey fam, it's Josh. How's it going? Another movie review for you. Another, not as complicated as some of my other movie reviews, but a complicated movie, and I'll give you my quick thoughts on All of Us Strangers, which is a UK indie. It is from director Andrew Haigh, who made a lot of previous indie flicks. One of them that made a big splash that I saw was Lean on Pete, which was a horse movie, and I don't want to spoil anything, but there aren't really any happy, triumphant horse movies. I mean, I guess when they're made for kids they are, but when they're not made for kids, look out. Anyway, so it's directed by him. It is written by him, and it's an adaptation, which I'm going to get to later. It stars Andrew Scott, aka Hot Priest from Fleabag, Moriarty from Sherlock, and also Paul Mescal, who is known for another UK indie buzz movie from a couple years ago called After Sun, which was one of my absolute favorite movies of its year. And he got a lot of awards. I think he got a lot of awards, not just buzz, but I think he won some awards for that. And it put him on the map a little bit. Anyway, it stars these two gentlemen, and ostensibly on the surface, it's about two men meeting each other in a lonely, near abandoned apartment building in London. I guess it'd be a flats building, and starting a relationship. But there's also a lot more going on than that, as Andrew Scott's character is a writer, a screenwriter, who has a lot of unresolved issues with memories and family, specifically his parents. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but I'm going to have to talk about, a key element of the premise, which is in the trailer. I won't spoil anything you couldn't see in that trailer, and I won't spoil some of the things in the end that make this very complicated, but I'm going to dance around it a little bit. So, essentially, Andrew Scott plays a writer who's lonely and depressed and has unresolved issues because his parents passed away when he was young. And so they never got to see the man he is. He's already conflicted about the man he is. He's got he's down on himself. He doesn't consider his career successful. He is a gay man, which is a different experience, in the contemporary moment than it perhaps was in his parents' time, but he never got to work through those things with them. And so what happens in the movie is he takes the train from London to the suburb where he was born and raised, and goes to his childhood home and discovers, and again, you can see this in the trailer, that his parents, played by Jamie Bell and Claire Foy, are there at home. They are the last age that he knew them at, but he is him. He is himself now as an adult, and they welcome him in, and they catch up, and they have the conversations they never had. And I won't spoil anything more than that, except perhaps to say, now the movie goes back and forth between this experience that he's having, which we don't know, is he writing this? Is this a dream? Is it something supernatural? And then his relationship with Paul Mescal's character, which seems to be about two very lonely, broken people finding each other and having this kind of whirlwind romance, which is kind of beautiful and very, very, very well portrayed in the movie. But then it kind of goes to another level of where there's going to be a lot of ending explained videos about this. So here's where I'm not going to give any spoilers, but I am going to talk about the adaptation. So on the surface, All of Us Strangers, by the way, which is excellent. It's well directed. It's fascinating. The relationships in it are fascinating. Between the Andrew Scott and Paul Mescal, but also between Andrew Scott and his parents, and between the parents, there's an interesting dynamic. This is an excellent, well-made movie. I think it deserves the buzz. And the bottom line is you should just see it if you're interested. It's really good. Without getting into a spoiler section, though, I do want to talk about what's odd about this movie to me, and that is that on the surface, if I just saw this and didn't see the credits and know any context about it being an adaptation, I would think that this was much like After Sun, that other film that Paul Mescal was in, that this was like an indie filmmaker dealing with very, very, very personal stuff through cinema. And I actually really like movies like that. I really like empathetic journeys into somebody else's issues. For whatever reason, it always moves me. And there are elements of that here that feel so specific and so personal in Andrew Scott's unresolved issues with his family, and the minutia of that, the details of that relationship with his parents, is so specific and so well rendered that it just feels like this must be so personal to the director. And perhaps it is, but it remains true that it is also an adaptation. And not just an adaptation, but an adaptation of a Japanese novel. And not just a Japanese novel, but a pretty straightforward ghost story. And that just is what that book is. So again, I'm not trying to spoil anything specific about anything, but it's a fascinating case of adaptation where this filmmaker has taken what apparently, I've not read the book, I've read about the book, apparently it's a very, very different experience and a very, very different story, and turned it into this very beautiful movie. It makes me want to read that book, but I guess to say more, I would have to spoil more, and I'm not going to do that. But that might be sufficient. That might be all that I need to say. This movie is fascinating. It's beautifully made. It has a fun soundtrack of like Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Pet Shop Boys and stuff like that. And it's filmed very, very, very well for a movie that ostensibly only has 4 actors in it. It goes outside a little bit. There's some scenes outside and around London, but there's only really 4 speaking roles in this movie. I guess that's another thing about this movie that I forgot to talk about, is just the writing. Again, it's great, but it's unexpectedly, it's not as subtle as you expect a movie like this to be. People just say things about how they're feeling and what their issues are, and they just kind of say it out loud. And that was kind of a little bit refreshing, but also a little bit jarring. But anyway, if you're at all predisposed to be interested in something like this, then check it out. It is good, and it's great that it's in a movie theater, and I enjoyed watching it. And I will talk to you again soon with another movie review and all the other fun, weird stuff that I do here on the channel. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Josh out.